can't talk about this version to the extent I might like anyways, as I don't own a 3DS capture card, and it just so happens I end up having to talk about DS games pretty much every episode of this show somehow. Luigi's Mansion would make its way to the 3DS console in 2018. Pretty darn late into the handheld's lifespan, wouldn't you say? Fun fact, and I'm sure you've heard before, but whatever, Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube was conceived to be visible in 3D, as this was a feature considered for the whole console fairly early on. Nintendo axed the idea when they realized 3D TVs had not taken up a significant share of the market. They still haven't, and I've never met anyone who's owned one. The remake does that a decent bit and changes it up quite a lot. For one, the pal-hidden mansion I talked about earlier is now in every version of the game, and it changes up a lot of the locations of the Speedy Spirits and Mario's items, and even switches up some of the portrait ghosts that you have to beat. There's a boss rush timed trial mode here, and there's also like an achievement system now, because Nintendo consoles don't have achievements like normal consoles do, so every game has to just make their own. It's a pretty easy thing to throw in a remake to add some replay value. Pikmin 3 Deluxe did this as well. There are 5 subsets of achievements, and upon completing all the achievements in one of the clusters, you get a little ghost added to your stand you can view in the gallery. There's some pretty hard achievements in here, like yeah, the beginner ones are something a baby will do in their casual playthrough, but there's also achievements like beating the game without ever going under 80 HP, and that's something I don't think I've ever done in one of my original playthroughs. These add quite a bit to the whole idea I mentioned that Luigi's Mansion is a game meant to be replayed over and over, and gives a lot more meaning to the money in this game when there are achievements you get by collecting money on repeat playthroughs. There's also multiplayer now. A second player can join, entering as a green blob, Gooigi, who comes from the future, which is Luigi's Mansion 3, which came out a year later. You see what they did there? It's clever. I only recommend this mode if you like playing your games at 6 frames per second, which leads me to my next question.
Why in the holy mother of all that good and bad was this on the Nintendo 3DS? Probably the weakest thing they could have put it on. Phones had more power at the time, like unironically. Why wasn't it on the Switch?
Like, yes, I get the argument for it. Okay, I know the original was meant to be in 3D. That's cool, but the 3DS was not only extremely underpowered in 2018, it also pretty much turns this remake into a demake. What's the point? Graphically, while some models are more refined and the environments are definitely improved, who even cares? The console has a resolution output of 240p! Like, it almost looks worse because of that. Maybe I'm unnecessarily mad about this, whatever, but Luigi's Mansion is one of my favorite games of all time. I would have killed for an HD port. Like, GameCube remakes are treated like an actual joke at Nintendo. Miyamoto gets on stage every night. It's part of his routine comedy bit. That's how much it's funny to them. Like, we get Zelda HD ports. Cool. They're on the Wii U. No one bought that console. Super Mario Sunshine gets, like, destroyed in 3D All-Stars. And what else? Oh, there's nothing. Oh, but we get NES games up the goddamn kazoo. Fuck, man. And it's not just the fact that the graphics can't be appreciated even if they're better. It's also just like, this game doesn't control that well. It's not unworkable, but if you don't have a 3DS model with a second stick, you have to use motion controls to even play this game, which isn't the end of the world. I know some people like gyro, and there's even control options that make it similar to Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on the 3DS, but overall, this game simply was just not meant to be on this console. It just wasn't. The 3DS should have been long gone by then. Plus, if you're releasing Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Switch the next year, why would you promote the game by releasing the original on a handheld, but no one would play it in a few months anyways? What the hell happens in Nintendo's headquarters, man? Something crazy is going on there.
And here's the thing, Luigi's Mansion 3DS is a great game, a good remake on a wrong console, and that kills the entire thing, at least for me, because I'd rather just play it on my TV with a controller. And since Nintendo games don't get remade more than once, this is Luigi's Mansion's eternal life forever, just being stuck on a 3DS. Like, they're not gonna remake it for the Switch now because Nintendo never does that. No, that's why we have Super Mario 64 DS and nothing else. And they do the same for Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D.